Friends, I wanted to make this quick video just for those of you who are on our email prayer letter updates, because this last month was a significant month for us because we had our first official service as a church, Odesa International Fellowship. And so if you've been following along, you know that we've been working with internationals here in Odesa for some time now and have been starting to do some church services this past summer. It has been such a crazy year. We did not expect what God was going to do. We did not expect to be so early in this process, to be already doing a first service. But because of COVID, because of quarantine, because we didn't go back to the States this last summer, God just sort of moved everything forward unexpectedly. And what an unusual time to plant a church. I mean, to me, in my mind, this seems like it's probably the worst time ever to plant a church. But as we saw this whole thing happening and as we were praying and looking for God's leadership in our lives, talking with our church leaders, talking with our church back home, talking with respected pastors here, everything pointed to the fact that this is what we should be doing. And so we just by faith followed God on it, and God is blessing. Not without its difficulties and hardships for sure, but God is blessing. We're seeing Him do some wonderful things, and we're so excited. And I want to share with you just two things. I want to do a video later with Christina. We can talk in details more about some of these things. But I want to share with you two things. They're right behind me here, so let me get them. And the first is this. This was a gift that was given to me by Pastor Aleg during our inaugural service, which was on October 18th. And it is a horn, which is actually quite loud. I probably shouldn't be honking it indoors. And it's quite loud, and he said, well, this horn, may it remind you of the volume and clarity that you ought to use when you preach the gospel. And he used 1 Corinthians 14, verse 8, where it says, again, if the trumpet does not sound a clear call, who will be ready for battle? So it is with you. Unless you speak intelligible words with your tongue, how will anyone know what you are saying? You will just be speaking into the air. And of course, that's talking about speaking in tongues or speaking in a language that can be understood. We need to speak the gospel in a language that can be understood. And that's what we're doing at Odesa International Fellowship. We're actually doing our services in English to reach those people here in Odesa who don't know Russian, or don't know it very well, don't know Ukrainian, or don't know it very well, but they do know English. And so that is our primary, that is our goal, that is who we're reaching. And so hopefully we can preach the gospel in English here and be as loud as a trumpet. And then the other one is this one, which is a little, not quite as loud, but it is this little bell. And this little guy here, this is the Duke Richelieu, who started, or who was the first mayor of Odesa. But anyway, same idea here, that we ought to be like a bell here in Odesa, proclaiming the gospel. And it says Odesa here, and this was given to me by my pastor friend, Roman Kalashnikov. So those are wonderful little gifts and reminders. In fact, I'm putting them on my shelf back here, so they always remind me about preaching the gospel. And again, I just want to thank you for your prayers and really ask you to continue your prayers for Odesa International Fellowship, because you know how it is. We had our inaugural service, and now we can't just coast. We have to keep moving forward, pushing forward, preaching the gospel, sharing Christ's love. And by the grace of God, I do believe that God will give fruit for our labor here. But we need your support and prayers. And we thank you, those of you that financially support us during this time. So once again, thank you so much. And may God's blessing be on you. Even during this quarantine, may you learn to trust Him more. I know that's what has been happening here.